I am having an amazing conversation with some fantastic, phenomenal women. On Monday, we marked a day that I think should be every single day. Zero tolerance for FGM. Female genital mutilation is a grotesque sexual and reproductive physical violation. It robs thousands of women and girls of their dignity and self-respect. With me to unpack what exactly that means and why, even though it is outlawed in Kenya, it is still being practiced. I have Bernadette Loloju, CEO, Anti-FGM Board of Kenya. I have Jill Clements, Deputy Irish Ambassador. I have Sadia Hussain, CEO, Brighter Society Initiative. And joining via Zoom, we'll have Ifra Ahmed of the Ifra Foundation. Ladies, welcome to Double O Direct.
My name is Bernadette Loloju. I'm the CEO of the Anti-FGM Board. I'm here. I'm a survivor of FGM myself. Was taken through FGM when I was very young, barely 13 years old. And so my passion to see zero FGM, not only in Kenya, but in the world, is something that I work on every day.
Good morning. My name is Jill Clements. I'm the Deputy Head of Mission at the Embassy of Ireland in Kenya, and we cover Kenya, Somalia, Eritrea, and Sudan. I'm utterly honoured to be in the room with such incredible, passionate women who are out there on the front line every day trying to stop the violence against women and girls. And Ireland is a long-standing champion of gender equality and women's human rights defenders. And just really pleased to be here. Thank you for having me.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sadia Hussain. FGM survivor. I'm a champion as well. I'm the founder and CEO of Brighter Society Initiative. I'm a mother of 3 beautiful daughters who have not gone through FGM. So my passion is to see FGM free world, and I've committed to advocate against FGM and any other violence against women and girls. Thank you.
The Irish Somali activist, founder of IFRA Foundation. My passion is to end FGM, Somalia and beyond.
Excellent. Maybe Ifra, you could give us some little background on the IFRA Foundation when it was founded.
IFRA Foundation was founded in 2010 and it became a charity on 2016. The reason IFRA Foundation was founded is that I was a young woman who actually immigrated Ireland as a refugee. And I remember going through on medical check during my my refugees. And I remember when going to hospital and living with other refugees from different countries like Kenya and Sudan and Egypt, the other Somalis, and also in Ethiopia and Eritrea. And talking to them about the general medical check that they have told me that they have been through such a trauma because everyone had the same as a male translator. And I started myself as a campaigner. I started within Ireland because I felt that if my procedure was difficult, I would say the other ladies are the same. So I said, we need to speak out. Before even reaching to other community, I started within the Somali community. And I remember talking to the Somali community. One of the things that shocked me is that one of the young women, when they give birth, the first child and second child, they were told that they cannot get pregnant in next couple of years because of the cesarean. So I started speaking to them and explaining to them that when they get pregnant, they have to communicate with the doctors so they would be fine and they will have a medical acknowledge about they have gone through on female genital mutilation. And I remember campaigning within the Ireland in Irish law where FGM is outlawed in 2012. So before even reaching to Somalia, we felt that there is a need of legislation in Ireland and also respect of the young women who have already undergone FGM. So the campaign we started in Ireland with young people from different countries, where we started with a group called the United Youth of Ireland. We set up a fashion show to raise awareness because we believe that, pointing one to another, saying that they have gone through FGM, we decide to unite it in one and set up the fashion show that, every young woman is beautiful no matter what. So that's how we started, and we were lucky because we were so loud in Ireland, and that's how we get FGM has been legislated in Ireland. And soon FGM was outlawed in Ireland. I was invited to go to European Parliament and European Commission. So EU can have one of central goal on ending FGM. And when I felt that, I was important to the European Parliament and Home Affairs, I felt that I want to go to Somalia. And I remember 2013, when I got my Irish passport, I just come back to Somalia, which was very difficult for me. And then that time I was Ifra Ahmed, with no belong to any constitution or organization. But I was very passionate, and also I really wanted to help young girls not to be cut. So when I returned to Somalia, I started with where I am just now sitting, Ministry of Women and Human Rights. And the first minister who have joined the ministry, I joined to work with her. So I started as an advisor in the government, and then I continue my campaign, where I visit in IDP camps where young girls have still been cut. But my challenge was that I only come to visit Somalia. So I returned to Ireland, and I decided, what should I do? Should I return to Somalia or not? Then I meet with I meet with beautiful Irish woman who has a business, and she asked me, Ifra, who do you work with? And I remember having an Ifra Foundation as a platform for women in Somalia and other women, where we communicate that if they want to go to doctor, if they want to talk about female genital mutilation, they can directly speak with me. So I told the women called Sammy Leslie that we have Ifra Foundation on Facebook and on Twitter. And soon after she left us, basically, I remember meeting her in France. She set up right away Ifra Foundation as a charity in Ireland, and where that I now carry that big hat, bigger than me, on Ifra Foundation to continue ending FGM and fighting for zero tolerance. That is how Ifra Foundation was set up, and our aim and goal is that when I come back to Somalia, I seen that Somalia FGM is practiced 98%. So for me, my goal is to basically come on zero tolerance. So Ifra Foundation, we work on 3 pillars, which is,
I'm going to pause you. I'm going to pause you a little bit, Ifra, so that I can let everyone know that we are going to be playing the trailer for A Girl from Mogadishu, which is a movie about your life and your story. It's going to be coming up, not immediately now, but it's going to be coming up. So the other thing I'd like you to do is just give me 2 seconds. We're going to a song, and we'll be right back. Olivia Otieno hosting the Safe Space for Women, with a woman host, music by women, only women guests in Nairobi, terrestrial 94.4 SpiceFM. Now, February is the month of love, but there is no love without respect, because true love is rooted in respect for oneself and respect for others. Female genital mutilation is a grotesque sexual and reproductive physical violation. It robs thousands of women and girls of their dignity and self-respect. On Monday, 6th February, the world marked the Global Day for Zero Tolerance for FGM. And we are unpacking what this means, particularly in Kenya, where it's outlawed. I heard that the statistics are it's declined from 21% to 15%, but that is still not good enough. With me, Bernadette Loluju. She is the CEO of the Anti-FGM Board of Kenya. I have Sadia Hussein, who is the CEO of the Brighter Society Initiative, and Jill Clements, who is the Deputy Irish Ambassador. Ladies, I'd like you to start, Bernadette, and giving me an overview of the work that the Anti-FGM Board is currently undertaking and the steps required to make it not 15%, not 20%, not 10%, but zero.
Yeah, thank you very much, Olivia. So the Anti-Female Genital Mutilation Board is a board, semi-autonomous agency under the Ministry of Public Service, Gender and Affirmative Action. And it came into place in 2013 when the former President Uhuru Kenyatta appointed Honorable J.B. Kilimo to be the first chairperson of the board. So the board came into place through an act of parliament, the Prohibition of Female Genital Mutilation Act 2011. And the board's work is to focus on policy and strategy on how to bring FGM to zero. Our work also involves awareness creation. It involves coordination of all actors who are doing FGM work in this country. We have a number of actors in 22 counties where we have very high prevalence. And this high prevalence has happened because many women have suffered. And when we look at the statistics, the 2014 KDHS showed that 21% of women in Kenya live with the negative effects of FGM.
21% of all women in Kenya.
Yes, and myself and Sadia are part of the statistics. How did we end up as part of the statistics? Because the communities where we come from thought that for us to become women, we had to be taken through FGM. We do not want to blame our grandmothers because nobody told them it's wrong. So they thought that was the right thing for us. And so for many years, people have been told to stop this practice. But because it's a cultural practice that is in-depth inside the community and they feel it is the right thing, they think that they should continue. But one thing we have come to realize that FGM is a gender inequality issue because it has to do with women's sexuality. It has to do with women's power. So men are not very far from this. And so that is why the conversation, even in this International Day for Zero Tolerance that we celebrated on Monday, is about engaging men and boys in changing social norms to eliminate FGM. Because for many years, the women have been talking to themselves. But now we have realized that without bringing the men on board, then we might not be able to end this once and for all. And so for the anti-FGM board, our work is very clear. Work with the police, the judiciary, the ODPP to make sure that they implement the law. Because ours is not about implementation. Ours is about creating awareness, making the communities know that there is a law in place. I can assure you that our communities are aware because according to the 2022 KDHS, it shows that more than 90% of Kenyans know that FGM is against the law.
I want to come back to you, Bernadette, and I'm going to ask you so you can think about this. One, what your mindset was like, what your psyche was like before you were cut, number one. And number two, what are the main reasons why FGM is still practiced with regards to stigma, with regards to finance, with regards to social, maybe marital and future relations. So I'll come back to you on that. Let me hear from you, Jill.
Great, thank you. Well, it's always so powerful to hear from women who have that lived experience. And I think, Ireland has always been a champion of gender equality and human rights in its development cooperation and its international relations. That's a primary pillar for us. It's central to our international development policy and to the work that we do at, for example, the last couple of years where we sat on the UN Security Council, where women, peace and security was central. We sat with Kenya at the table and also co-facilitated the Sustainable Development Goals with Kenya. So we have a long partnership with the Kenyan government, and we use that to continue to promote and to advocate for gender equality. And I think, as Bernadette and Sadia and Ifra will all attest to, violence against women, and as you said at the beginning, violence against women and girls constitutes a serious human rights abuse. It is a violation. And it's a direct obstacle to the achievement of gender equality. It's widespread, it's persistent, and it prevents women from living in peace and security. And staggeringly, 1 in 3 women globally experience physical and sexual violence. This we need to bring to an end. And within that includes female genital mutilation. Interestingly, and with IFRA's stalwart activism, FGM is illegal in Ireland. This is under the Criminal Justice Female Genital Mutilation Act of 2012. This legislation was the culmination of several years of efforts by a steering committee that IFRA was involved with and the National Action Plan to address FGM. And so in Ireland, it's a criminal offence for a person living in Ireland to perform FGM or to take a girl to another country to undergo FGM. We see this as critical to Ireland's own sexual reproductive health and rights journey, which has been a long one for Ireland. And we've gone through many social, political and legislative changes recently. The Marriage Equality Act, these various kinds of processes to really address weaknesses in our own sexual and reproductive health and rights. And so now that puts us on footing with most other EU member states. But it's been a long journey for us. We really relate to countries where that's still an ongoing journey, and we see our role as being a partner and a champion, particularly to those on the front line and at the grassroots.
Quick one, Jill. When the legislation was passed, have there been any prosecutions as a result of that being put into law? Something we'll have to look into.
Definitely. I think Ifra can speak to that for sure. That's that's something that she's very passionate about and that she was central to bringing into
Jill.
being.
Let's move over to Sadia. You are the CEO of the Brighter Society Initiative. You're also an FGM survivor, and you are one of the most powerful women I've ever had the pleasure of being in a room with. So please let me understand the role of the Brighter Society Initiative and your own journey.
Thank you so much, Olivia. I would rather thank you for giving me such a platform and Spice FM, because, you know, our voices must be heard. As survivors of FGM, it is us who knows where it pinches, where our shoes are pinching, actually, because we are the people who have gone through FGM. And if we don't speak, even the men we want to engage will not know why we are even complaining about FGM. So thank you so much for that. Brighter Society Initiative is actually an organization that I've founded. And what inspired me to do that is because of my personal story. I went through FGM when I was 10 years old. As an innocent girl, I was very excited to go through FGM. And at that moment, I didn't know what was awaiting me. And many girls would mock me, discriminate me, and all that.
Because you hadn't gone through the procedure yourself?
Yes, exactly. At that time.
Okay.
So I was excited so that I also go through FGM and come back and be also like them. So it was something that I should be proud of. But on the contrary, once I went through the cuts, I felt the regrets. And unfortunately, FGM is irreversible. Once it's done to you, there's nothing you can do. So no one prepares you for the pain. No one tells you what this whole FGM issue is within the community. And that's why I stood firm. My mother, I cannot say she's a coward, but she didn't have the voice to save me from FGM. But I'm a mother who is actually courageous enough to say, my daughters should not go through FGM. And I did that, alhamdulillah. And I want to ensure other girls are not going through FGM. And FGM, as everyone will tell you, is not a standalone. It leads directly to child marriage. It leads directly to teenage pregnancies. It leads directly to drop out of schools and all that. So how can we even talk about women economic empowerment when we have children who have been mutilated at 10 years old, like Sadia, like Bernadette, and whose dreams were cut at that time? We were lucky enough to pursue our educations, but how about those who are still in the rurals and do not have voices like my mother was? So Brighter Society is to empower women and girls, to raise their voices, to say it's enough. It happened to us, but not to our daughters. And also, one more thing is that I always wonder, Madam Bernadette, when do these survivors we talk about, for instance, 200 million survivors worldwide, 125 million women and girls living with the complications of FGM in Africa alone. And in Kenya, we are talking about more than 4 million women and girls, including me, I and Bernadette, are living with the scars of FGM. I always ask myself, if these scars were visible on the face, Perhaps what was cut was my lips or nose. Today, Olivia, you would be sympathizing with me and saying, oh, Sadia, what happened to your nose? But because it's done to a hidden genitalia, no one sees what I'm enduring in silence. What are the complications, the pain, suffering we are enduring in silence. And that's why you see me, Sadia, I look beautiful, I'm good, alhamdulillah. So no one actually feels that FGM should be a priority. And that's why I always say, let us ensure ending FGM is world's priority. Thank you.
Wow. Words from Sadia Hussein. We're coming back with her, Jill Clements, Bernadette Loloju, and of course, Ifra Ahmed. Joined by the woman whose story inspired a girl from Mogadishu. Her name is Ifra Ahmed. She's currently in Somalia. You're in Mogadishu at the moment. She's I'm so happy you're joining us via Zoom. So tell me about the genesis of it. Tell me about some of the major achievements that you feel personally has resulted from you saying, I will not be silenced, my voice will be heard, the IFRA Foundation is here, and this terrible, grotesque practice of FGM must stop.
Thank you. I would say that first time when I came to Somalia, I was doing interview with TV, which I don't want to say the name of the TV, but there was a man who was going to interview me because he was introduced by a true friend, and he said, Ifra is amazing, sit with her and interview. It was a program. When we sat down and he started interview, he started questioning me what we're going to talk about. Then I said, we're going to talk about female genital mutilation. And he just looked at me and he said, no, I am not going to talk about women genitalia or clitoris, and I'm out of it. And he put the makeup and everything down and he walked away. And he said, you know what? There is a female who will do this. And that was really upset. A journalist, he said that. Then I was really upset because, I was thinking that the journalist to be part of this, and then he wasn't happy. But what I am happy today is that one of the biggest achievements, the whole journalist, whether he's a man or woman or he's older or youngest, the Somali journalists are speaking about female genital mutilation, are speaking about sexual violence. So that is one thing I say. I'm very proud that to reach this point where the journalists are speaking out on FGM. And also, I remember before we came to Somalia, as the IFRA Foundation, there was a lot of death cases of FGM. I am not proud that they medicalized on FGM, where they now bring into hospital, but I am very proud that last 12 months, there was a zero death on FGM, where before we heard that young girls who died for bleeding, young girls who've been cut for bleeding. Believe it or not, and I think Jubaland is a border with Kenya or close by. And there was a 29 girls has been cut in same day during the Christmas. Before Christmas.
Yes.
And 8 of them, they were bleeding and in IDB camps. Imagine women in IDB camp have requested her daughter to be taken to hospital, where before when they bleed, they allowed to bleed and till they die, or maybe last one, the stage where the girls have lost a lot of blood. But I was so happy to hear that there was 8 girls have been brought in to Kismayo, where they have given the medical treatment and given surgery and supported, where before that IDB camps, young girls have been cut and they have died in the camp.
Ifra, one thing I'd like to ask you,
and we see a lot of
Ifra, one thing I'd like to ask you is, where is the community of the women who are saying no to FGM? Where is the community of the women who are coming out and saying, I'm not going to have my daughter cut? How do they congregate? Because I'm seeing that the numbers and the practice is still ongoing. So is it that there are an acknowledgement of we are uncut women and we are proud of it, or we are not cutting our girls and we are proud of it? And how are they then being treated in society at large? And I'll get back to the both of you as well, Sadia and Bernadette. But Ifra, you can start.
I think it's basically, now I'm in Mogadishu, I'm in capital city of Somalia, and it's called the Banadir administration. If you look at in Banadir, you see many women are saying that zero tolerance, or even saying that I'm not going to cut my daughters. So the issue is that we don't have a really data which says that how many mothers have really committed not to cut their daughters. But we see in Banadir where mothers are saying, this has been happening long time, but I stopped, I didn't cut my daughters. And also, some of the mothers that they don't really come out and say it. Like, for example, Sadia, she is a survivor of female genital mutilation, and she decided and committed not to cut her two beautiful daughters, even bringing them on public to, write abortories and things like that. So it's a mothers that actually committed, but we are not seeing much.
Pause, because that's something that you said earlier, Sadia. You said it happens somewhere where people do not see. It is somewhere people cannot see my pain, people cannot see my scars, people cannot see the difficulties with which, FGM has affected me. So my question to you is, where are the ones who are saying no? Is that data really there? And are they just saying that I'm not going to cut my daughter and then doing it anyway? Because how would we ever prove it? Because sometimes in a society, an uncut girl will not get a husband, an uncut girl will not be accepted. How does it work, Sadia?
One thing I will tell you is the challenge we have. Even those who have said no to FGM, they still fear that if they expose their daughters, they might not get married and all that.
Yes.
Because they're still within the community that actually victimized them or trapped them into the cut. So what happens is that very few women like me and Bernadette can actually say our daughters are free from FGM, and we know definitely there is a man somewhere who will marry them the way God created them.
Are you having any conversations within your community, with your extended family, with other people regarding, because your daughters are still young. You mentioned that the eldest is 14. So let's assume, she finishes high school, goes to university, and somewhere around in her 20s, she's looking to find her life partner. Are there conversations within the community about your uncut daughters and with the other parents of these of boys who could be potential suitors in the future from your very own community?
Yes, my daughters, I have empowered. You cannot empower another woman when you have not even empowered yourself.
True.
When you have not even empowered your own daughters.
Yes.
So I started with empowering my own daughters. Now they've grown up knowing that they are perfect,
Yes.
they are clean, the way God created them, and they can clean themselves. And there is a book I wrote about the hidden scars of female genital mutilation, and there is another one about a new dawn for children. So there are poems in those books, and whenever my daughters go to school, they would always recite the poem. When other girls ask them, why you cut? And they say, no, our mother told us you can clean yourself with a shower.
Yes. Yes. And
So-
how is that treated? How is that received in the schools and with their peers?
Actually, some of the girls, they have actually inspired are challenging their own mothers, saying, we have girls who have not been cut. They even go them and say, you can Google Sadia, I'm all over internet.
Yes.
They can Google me and see why I'm saying we must end FGM. And let me tell you this, Olivia, I thank Madam Bernadette because she also champions for the voices of survivors.
Yes.
And I always say, can we have all the survivors who have actually said it happened to us but not to our daughters, so that at least we have them plus their daughters who are actually documented, so that they become role model, an inspiration, a motivation to even other girls who are feeling they should escape the cut.
There's power in numbers. I agree exactly with what Sadia is saying. Bernadette, over to you and the Anti-FGM Board of Kenya.
Yeah, so this is something that we have. I remember when Sadia came to my office, I told her the first thing we have to come out and say that we went through this. Because at the beginning, nobody wanted to speak about it. All the women who are holding very high positions, nobody wants to be told they went through FGM.
My question is, if in the community you were brought into it as a young girl, you yourself were 12, and everyone was cheering and clapping and encouraging you to do it, why then now do they have an issue with saying that they've gone through the cut?
Yes, it is a shame. It is a shame because FGM is shameful. Nobody wants to be told they went through it. So even for us to speak about it is because we are now champions, and even our husbands they would feel uncomfortable for us to go around talking about that, because how are they going to be taken even in the society that your wife is the one who is championing and saying that we should stop this? So it's a very big risk even for all of us.
Yes.
Like, for example, for me, my husband is an MCA, he's a politician.
Yes.
So even for his wife to be the one going around saying that girls should not be cut,
Yes.
it would have been a very big loss for him. Sadia is a politician. She might have lost the seat for women rep because she's going around saying girls should not be cut. So it's a very big risk for everyone who wants to risk their everything because they want to speak about female genital mutilation.
Is there more empowerment for you and for your voice, even on a domestic or, a regional front, because you are part of a government body? Does it lend some power and credibility and authority for us having this FGM board, anti-FGM board?
Yes, it does. My position and where I sit, and just being given to be the CEO anti-FGM board and to be able to speak about this gives all the women and girls in this country and beyond a voice for them to continue speaking about this. So what we have done is that we have started with survivor forums at community level, like Sadia and her team in Tana River have a survivors forum.
Yes.
Then we have the team from Isiolo, we have the team from Kajiado,
Yes.
we have the team from Narok, from all these counties that are 22 counties with high prevalence. But I've always been saying that we need to document. And even the other day I said, I want to be the number one on the list of those who are being documented. I will talk about it. Sadia will talk about it, will be the next one, and the next one, and the next one. My former chairperson, who is now the MP Narok North, Honorable Pareyo, has come out to say she went through the worst form of FGM when the Maasai really did the worst form of FGM. And we agreed with her that we need to speak because we've been given the platform, we've been given the where we can speak about it. We go on TV, we go on radio. Then why don't we become the voice of the ones who are in the village who are not given the chance to speak? But as Sadia has said, most women are not cutting their daughters, but they cannot come out to say in the community that they are not cutting them because it becomes stigma straight away. So even getting women to speak about them not cutting their own daughters and them being survivors is a whole process. It takes time. It takes time for them to talk about it. So the issue is still about data. Do we have the data of the women who are really not cutting their daughters but they are not talking about it?
Yes.
Do we have the data of the women who are continuing to cut their daughters but they are saying they are not cutting them?
Yes.
So that is the issue. The Kenya Demographic Health Survey only focuses on the 15 to 49 age group. There is no data from 0 to 14.
Really? But
Yes.
both of you were cut before the age of
Before
15.
the age of 15. So the only data we are depending on is between 15 to 49. And what I can tell you is that according to the KDHS 2022, 15 to 19-year-olds, 9% have been cut. That means that the group of women who are now going into the 15 to 19 age group is dropping very fast.
Because they're cutting younger.
No, they are cutting them already.
Yes.
But when they go into the age group of 15 to 19, which is already being
Yes.
taken care of by the KDHS,
Yes.
then what the data shows is that the women between the age of 15 to 19 is 9%.
But we know that the actual numbers of cut women between
Yeah.
the ages of 15 to 19 is much higher than that 9% because a lot of them...
the data is clear.
Okay.
15 to 19 is 9% according to KDHS. You cannot go against data that has already been.
My question to you, just to understand from a
Yes.
clarity point of view,
Yes.
are you saying that 9% of girls 15 to 19 have been cut?
Yes.
Or 9% of girls in that age group are being cut between the ages of 15
Let
and
me
19?
clarify the data.
Yes.
It's important.
Yes.
The age between the data has been made clearer. We have the drop of Kenya from 21% to 15%.
Yes.
But also it has been put in different
Clusters.
age clusters. So the age of 15 to 19 is 9%.
Okay.
The age between 40 to 45
Yes.
is 23.3%.
Okay.
And then between the age of 45 to 49
Yes.
is 23%.
Yes.
That means us who are between the age of 45 to 49 were cut more
Yes.
than the age between 15 to 19.
Okay.
And between the age of 20 to 24 is even lesser where my daughter is. You see? So now more women who are at the age of 40 to 49
Yes.
are not cutting their daughters.
Good.
So
That's
the
very good.
data is very clear that there is a drop.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
there is a drop.
Wow. In your experience and with the work that you've done, I'm going to ask both Sadia and Bernadette before we go into a break, is at what age primarily is the cut taking place? I'm going to start with you, Sadia, and then I'm going to go into Bernadette.
Initially,
Yeah.
it was from 10 going upwards.
Okay.
But nowadays, it's below 10. They're cutting girls as young as 3. In fact, we have baby cutting in Taita Taveta, for instance. So, there is a new trend of FGM, of cutting girls. Why? Because they fear the law. They believe if they cut at a younger, tender age, these girls will not overbleed. Number 2, they feel they will escape the law because these girls cannot justify in court. Again, they cannot raise their voices and all that. Because from 10 and above, it's someone who remembers everything that happens to their body. But below, as the younger they are, the less they remember about what happened to their body. So that's why
Sadia.
they do that. And also, one more thing that is very dangerous, the women who escaped the gut and are married are cut during delivery. That's another trend. When you are in labor and you're giving birth, the traditional birth attendant cuts you. That's why we are advocating for women to go to deliver at hospitals.
More with Sadia, Jill, Bernadette, and Ifra when we come back. This is 94.4 SpiceFM. We are streaming live on the homepage standardmedia.co.ke. I do have some Mariah Carey coming up, but I'm having a very, very powerful conversation about FGM, female genital mutilation. If there's one thing you do this weekend, is look for the movie A Girl from Mogadishu. Played the trailer earlier. I'm probably going to play it again. Watch the movie A Girl from Mogadishu. And I was invited by the Irish ambassador, Finola Quinlan, to her residence on Monday to view the movie. I didn't know what to expect. Actually, I thought I'd be watching some sort of documentary. I thought it would be, shaky cameras and everything. But watch A Girl from Mogadishu, because I realized after watching that movie that I'm completely and utterly ignorant. It's something I say. It's something I've had people on as guests on 00 Direct. But please go and watch A Girl from Mogadishu. I'm joined by Sadia Hussein. I'm joined by Jill Clements. I'm joined by Bernadette. And I'm joined by Ifra herself. And we're talking about zero tolerance for FGM. Sadia. Women are the ones committing FGM primarily. What can be done to convince, to deter, to stop them from perpetrating this practice? Because it's not really a man's issue, though we want them in the conversation. We are the ones who are being cut. We are cutting ourselves, and we are sending our daughters to be cut. What can we do to stop these women from continuing this practice?
One thing I want to thank you for is the word you said. You can say it again. That yes, indeed, we want to have men in the conversation, but it is for us women to say enough is enough. And we need to make a right of what happens to our body. We need to make a choice of what should be done and what shouldn't be done within our bodies. Because as a human being, as a woman, we have a right to decide what should happen to us. And one thing I want to say is that women needs to be empowered, especially the survivors. If you look at all the people who are campaigning against FGM, you will find we have a less percentage of the survivors in the movements. Majority of the survivors are still silent, and they are the ones who are cutting their own daughters, subjecting to the same problems they are enduring in silence. Why are they doing so? Because the society actually put them in that situation, because they are trapped into culture. Let me tell you this, and I want everyone to hear this straight. Culture is something that gives you identity. The way Madam Bernadette is dressed, everyone would tell she's a Maasai woman. The way I'm dressed, everyone would tell this is a Muslim Somali lady, right? This is something that gives me identity. You look at her, you know she's white. So Olivia Shaman looks at you, they see pure African woman. So what is culture? Culture is something that gives you identity. Chopping off my genitalia, how does it give me identity? You can't even see it. Who can tell the women who are seated here who was mutilated and who wasn't mutilated? How are you even giving me identity? So I want to tell and plead to all the women FGM survivors, please do not subject your own daughters to the horrible pain you endured in silence. Another issue I want to make straight, the women who are actually who are called perpetrators of FGM have been conditioned by the society to endure all forms of pain, including when a woman dies during delivery, we say her time has come. No one would actually link to FGM because FGM leaves a permanent scar within the genitalia. Yes. When the baby is pumping to come out, pressuring to come out, then you have that scar. It cannot stretch like the other normal women. Yes. What happens? For the doctors, they have to do episiotomy, cut you left, right, but sideways, that is. For the women at home, they have to cut you with, straight, left, right, any formula. They don't have even a formula. Why are we enduring such a pain in the name of culture, in the name of religion, for those who want to say it's sunnah to cut and all that? For God's sake, we are the women and we know where we are paining and we know how FGM is affecting. For instance, me and Bernadette have understood what we went through is bad. There are those who feel it's still normal to endure this. We really need to empower them. We really need to have a survivors conference, a room, a safe space. Madam, you are here today. I want to actually plead to you, if you can call all the FGM survivors from the 22 hotspot counties. We have a CEO here. She can lead that.
We have the media.
I'm here. We have the media. We have that one day safe space to speak to us first. Everyone share. I am sure every survivor has a unique story, which is even more painful than Sadia's. There are those women who lost their loved ones, not because the child died in the womb, but because of struggling to open her up. FGM does not affect the survivor alone. It even affects the unborn children. My baby head was elongated. My daughter has nothing to do with FGM, but she was trying to come to this world, created perfectly by God. But when I was delivering her, she wants to come out. The scar is there. Mothers are trying to cut me so that they give a way for my daughter to pass out. Only for me to pass out faint. When I realized she's a daughter, I started crying. Up to now, whenever I remember how I delivered, trust me, I don't wish any other girl to go through FGM. Not even touching, leave alone cutting. We don't even want a scratch on the genitals. Let girls live as created by God. Let us empower women and girls. Let us give them the voice. Even the young girls, we mentor them in schools. We do mentorship. We tell them, God gave us a flower. Do not cut it. We are clean with a shower. Never mutilate it. That is the gospel we want to preach. Let girls be girls. Let women enjoy their rights is given to by God.
Thank you, Sadia. I want to talk to you, Bernadette, and then Jill, about bringing together the Survivors Forum. As CEO of the Anti-FGM Board of Kenya, how can we make that happen?
That one is something that we can do because already a number of women have come out to say that they are survivors. It is about the women.
Yes.
We would really want to have the forum, but it's the number of women. Even if we are 10, we are 20 who are ready to speak. But I can assure you, women have started speaking. And the fact that women have started speaking, especially the ones who have gone through FGM, shows that we are healing. Because it is not easy. That's why you can see every time a woman is speaking, even when another one is speaking, another one is crying. Because all of us have a story behind what happened to us. Everyone has a story.
Yes.
And so everyone has a story. When they were giving birth, during that time when they were cut, or a cousin or a sister or someone who died when they were cut in a group. Like I can tell you, Olivia, my sister bled. we were 3 of us who were cut, myself, my older sister, and my cousin. And my sister bled. You can imagine a mattress. She was in a mattress, but the blood was flowing down. And she fainted. By 1 during the day, because we were cut in the morning at 6, she fainted. And, everybody ran to say that the elders needed to come and bless her with milk. And they were cutting some grass and saying they are doing some rituals so that she wakes up from the fainting. So today I'm asking myself, the fainting was because she lost blood.
Yes.
And for many years later, she became anemic. And we didn't know, nobody knew what was happening. Nobody knew why she was anemic.
Yes.
But today, or many years later, that's when I realized all these things that were happening were because of FGM. But as Sadia has said, most women don't know what is happening. They think the pain is a must. It is something that we should go through as women, that it is normal. Everybody thinks it's a norm. That's why we say social norms have to change, because everybody thinks it's normal. It's normal that I have to go through this pain. That's why even traditionally women would say it's normal for me to be beaten by my husband. People took it as if it's normal. Then today we are realizing it's not normal.
We normalized violence.
Yeah.
We normalized abuse.
Yes.
We normalized the fact that it's mutilation. But it is not normal.
It is not normal. So it is a process. It's not like we wake up one day and every woman in the village believes it should not happen, or it should not continue. You can imagine the trauma we are passing on to our own daughters. Only women who have been cut their daughters. Olivia here and Jill cannot cut their daughters because they don't have a tradition. It's not in their bloodstream.
Yes.
But only women who have been cut their daughters. So we have to, the only way FGM ends faster is for the women themselves who are survivors not to cut their own daughters. Because if I have 3 daughters, she has 3 daughters, I have 1 daughter, another woman has 5 daughters. If all of us make a decision not to cut our own daughters, it will end faster than we ever think.
I've heard from you, Sadia. I've heard from you, Bernadette. We want to organize a survivors forum. As the Standard Group, we have an MOU with UN Women. We have an MOU with UNFPA. We'd like to bring in the Irish Embassy and see what other supporters we can have and partners we can have to make this forum happen. Jill, do you have anything to say before we go to break?
Just that, I think the voices here have the solutions, and as Ireland, our commitment to gender equality reaches to those places. Our role is, I think, as allies and as partners, as collaborators. We all have, whether it's the media, whether it's donors, whether it's activists on the ground, we all have a role to play in the solution, and I think we all need to come together to do that. I don't think that there is a lack of solutions. I think there's a lack of action, and that's, I think, evidence, action, and allyship are the critical factors in ending FGM. I think, as Sadia said, this is not a cultural issue. There's generational trauma. Violence is endemic, and that needs to be stopped, and we all have a role to play in that. I think one of the most critical elements of tackling and ending this human rights abuse is comprehensive sexual and reproductive health and rights education. Education is critical. And I think, as you've both said and spoken so eloquently, you are educating your own girls, you're educating your families, you're educating your communities through your own action. And that is the most powerful, I think, way. And we need to share those voices. That's the role, I think, that Ireland and other partners and donors play, is to give space and amplify your voices and to work with you in the solutions that you identify.
I completely agree. The Survivors Forum is going to happen. When we come back, parting words from Ifra Ahmed, Bernadette Loloju, Jill Clemens, and Sadia Hussein on why we must always have zero tolerance for FGM. Good afternoon. I have the phenomenal founder and executive director of the Go Down, Joy Mboya. We're going to be talking about funding and the arts, the creative economy. Do we actually have a creative economy here in Kenya? I don't know. Joy Mboya is going to be in to let us know that. But right now I need to wrap it up with 4 sensational women. We've been talking about why we absolutely must end FGM. We absolutely positively must end FGM. Joining via Zoom, I have Afra Ahmed of the IFRA Foundation. I have Sadia Hussain, CEO, Brighter Society Initiative. And I have the CEO of the Anti-FGM Board of Kenya, Bernadette Loloju. Of course, I mentioned Jill Clements, the Deputy Irish Ambassador. She's here as well. Final parting words. I think I'll start with IFRA. IFRA, I know I've kept you. You're in Mogadishu. You're joining us via Zoom. I had the lovely opportunity to meet you on Monday. What are your parting words?
Thank you, first of all, to Irish Embassy and our ambassador and Jill for basically bringing the girl from Mogadishu to screen in Nairobi, because, you know, it's always amplifying the voices of the voiceless, because the movie is mine, but it's for everyone. And also, my last point is that, you know, we need African leaders. We cannot end the FGM and get zero tolerance if we don't get the leadership, if we don't get the ownership of our own government, because, you know, like international communities, they can always support and they can always help. But if there is no leadership in national, we will be always been talking here and sitting and crying on radio and TVs and crying for the journalists. So we need first of all leadership, and also to continue the campaign. It's good to hear that Sadia and also Bernadette all their own experience, and also talking about, you know, having a daughters and daughters not being cut. These are one of the examples that we need in more women to come out and say that I've been cut, but I'm standing to basically say zero tolerance on female genital mutilation, to support my own daughter and also to support another family members. Myself, I have a 3-year-old baby girl, and I started Dear Daughter campaign before even she was born. And now, next 10 years, when she's 10 years old, I want to see that, to celebrate the zero tolerance. I don't want to be sitting here and still talking about FGM still is practice. When I celebrate my baby girl's 10 years birthday, I want to also celebrate on zero tolerance on FGM, not Somalia, but around the world, and celebrate with Sadia and more women like that.
Fantastic. And you can reach out to IFRA through the IFRA Foundation. What is the website for the IFRA Foundation?
Is ifrafoundation.org. Also, there is a website called the Dear Daughter website, where everyone can go and pledge. And Dear Daughter is about pledging to basically mothers and fathers. Everyone can pledge to protect the young girls. We are over 60,000 now. We want to reach 100,000. Soon we get 100,000. We want basically to have a demanding a petition by the federal government of Somalia, and everyone can go. And I can also thank UNFPA in Kenya, and also the EU co-hosting the girl from Mogadishu in Nairobi. And I hope there will be more screening the movie, amplifying the voices. And you can visit us, ifrafoundation.org. You can also visit us on Twitter, on IFRA Foundation, and also same as Facebook.
Thank you so much, IFRA. It's been absolutely fantastic having you here today on Double O Direct. Jill Clements.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having the Embassy of Ireland here with you. It's been an honour to listen to the powerful stories that are in this room today, and that the powerful women that are working across the region and in Africa. I mean, Ireland will continue to be a champion and support allies in the effort to end FGM. This is our collective goal, and we all have a role to play in that, at home and abroad. We still have our own journey in Ireland. You asked earlier if the bill and the law was working, and in fact there have been convictions. So, that piece of action is critical. It's the implementation piece, as Bernadette had mentioned earlier, that's essential. So we will continue to support and champion and be an ally with our partners, such as the EU, the UN, and inspiring activists such as IFRA, to end FGM and to work in collaboration with partners on the ground, in government, and
civil society,
and with civil society and the media, to bring this to an end, because that's the only way it will happen.
We're
if we all
coming
work
to
together.
you for money for our forum for survivors. I'm just going to put it out there. That is the fact. That is the truth. Bernadette, I like the fact that Ifra talked about Dear Daughter, and that there's actually a site and a location where women are pledging and people are pledging to support girls to not be cut. I hadn't heard about it. I'm happy I've heard about it, but now I want to hear from you and get your parting words.
Thank you so much, Olivia, for giving us this platform. In fact, what is going to make FGM end sooner than it has happened before is because of the media. The media is the most important platform that can help us end FGM earlier than expected, because everyone is listening to something. Today, this morning,
Yes.
or even during the day, and it has to be media. And most of our young people are on social media.
Yes.
They are on Instagram, they are on Facebook, they are on Twitter, so they are getting information from all this media.
Yes.
And that's why we are saying this is the generation that will end FGM once and for all. And the next generation will not suffer what we have gone through. Sometimes we want to ask, why us? But no, we also ask ourselves, why not us? Because we are the ones who are going to help end it once and for all. So I want to tell the whole world that it takes us all to end female genital mutilation. If you're a mother and you're listening to us, if you're a father and you're listening to us, I am urging you and I'm asking you, please protect your daughter from FGM. It does not add anything to her life. Please give her an education. Let her be an empowered woman who will come and change the world, but not a woman who is suffering because you made her to suffer.
Thank you, Bernadette, CEO of the Anti-FGM Board of Kenya. Sadia Hussein.
Thank you so much. There is one thing that I want to put across, which I forgot earlier. One of the major reasons that is cross-cutting of all the communities practicing FGM is to protect girls from prostitution, to reduce promiscuity, to reduce the urge of a woman. It's about sexuality. It revolves around sexuality. And also, they don't want the girl to bring shame and get pregnant before her marriage. So, I want to ask our dear parents, a girl has a capacity of getting pregnant once in a whole year. But this boy can impregnate 10 girls a day. You are mutilating a girl to curb her sexual urge and reduce pregnancy. Will you accept if your boy is castrated so that he doesn't impregnate a girl? You know, it doesn't add up, right?
It doesn't.
If you don't want to castrate the boy, why do you want to mutilate a girl for her to pay for a price that is not even her choice? So I want to tell this. Mutilation is not a padlock. If you cut a girl today and she sleeps with a boy, she will definitely get pregnant. If you don't cut your girl and there is no man who slept with her, she will definitely not get pregnant. So who is the determinant? It's whether she sleeps with a man or not that will determine her pregnancy, not whether she is mutilated or not. So I want to urge all the FGM survivors, please, let us educate both our girls and boys, our own daughters and sons, on how they can protect their dignity. If a boy knows that I have a responsibility to protect my sister's dignity, then he should also protect other girls' dignity. The same way with a girl, just defend your rights and protect yourselves from unwanted pregnancy and all that. My last words are, today, the women and girls we want to empower are our mothers, our sisters, our daughters. I want to urge men, don't look at women as your competitors. Look at us as your mothers, your sisters, and your own daughters. It's not about taking power from the men. We are actually saying, let us empower women and girls to say what should happen to their body. And it's good for all of us. It's your daughter who is seeking her rights. It's your mother. It's your own sister. And we will have a collaboration and we will brighter the society. Thank you.
Sadia, Jill, Bernadette, Ifra, thank you so much for joining me today on Double O Direct. Have a wonderful weekend.
I said